Let's get to the games. Packers 12-3, Bears 8-7. Green Bay clinches a first-round bye with a victory or a loss by the Seattle Seahawks. See, the Packers only blow the one seed if they get into a three-way tie with Green Bay, Seattle, and New Orleans. If it's a two-way tie with Green Bay and Seattle, or Green Bay and New Orleans, Green Bay's in. I think they also lose a two-way tie with Seattle. So regardless, Green Bay likely to win. Green Bay likely to get in. But Chicago needs the win to get into the playoffs. They may back in with an Arizona loss. This is Aaron Rodgers. And this is Aaron Rodgers' understanding. He just saw on Sunday night the value of home field advantage in the playoffs when that snowstorm comes through. Even though the Bears are prone to periodic, or the Packers, a periodic what the hell happened, we didn't show up today. I don't see that happening on Sunday. They know the importance of this game. They're getting to 13-3. Matt LaFleur is getting to 26-6, and they're getting that one seed.
I would think so. I mean, that's certainly what I'm thinking right now. I mean, I think you said it right. The first thing that comes to my mind is just, hey, Aaron Rodgers ended last year talking about we need to get home playoff games. That was what they talked about ending the year last year after they lost and were knocked out. Who the heck were they knocked out by? I can't even remember now. But either way, I know that was a big conversation and a talking point that we got to get these games at home because they are a different football team. You can see the elements were into their favor the other night, definitely. And Rodgers, of course, because he's such a pure thrower of the football, like a Brady or a Mahomes, you know, he welcomes the 5-degree day in Green Bay because he just goes, I'm going to throw lasers and perfect spirals. I don't care if it's 5 or 85. And the other quarterback comes in and is like, whoa, this ball's slick and hard, and holy crap, my hands are dry, and I can't grip this thing, and it hurts when I'm catching it here in warm-ups and everything. And, you know, guys get off kilter that way. So, I'm with you. I expect Green Bay. Chicago is different. We know that. Their offense is different. But Chicago's defense hasn't been as dominant lately, Mike. That would, to me, be the most concerning thing about the matchup right now with what Rodgers did to them the first time around and just the way they've looked. I worry about that for Chicago Bears, and that's weird to say.
It really is amazing what the Packers have done when you consider all the questions that were swirling when Matt LaFleur became the coach. Would he be able to handle Aaron Rodgers? And this year, would the team, would anyone, would the organization, would they be able to deal with an Aaron Rodgers who was upset about the Jordan Love situation? We know he was upset because Brett Favre was his surrogate who made it clear he was upset in the aftermath of the draft. And I'm no Packers fan, but I know exactly who they've lost to the last 2 years. That's how few games they lost. They lost to the Eagles, the Chargers, the 49ers again in the postseason, and this year the Vikings, the Buccaneers, and the Colts. And they've only lost one regular season game at home, which shows you the value of the road to the Super Bowl going through Lambeau Field. So they go to Soldier Field this weekend, and the Bears are just going to have to hope that, the Cardinals lose. I don't know why I can't. There's so many of these different possibilities. I feel like every time I say it, I'm never 100% confident that I'm right. Well, but I think if the Cardinals lose, the Bears are in no matter what.
I've
heard it 50 times this week, but I still don't feel 100% confident about it because there's all these different moving parts that are all. I don't remember a year like this where there's this many different moving parts that you can't keep straight.
Yeah, it is. I understand what you're going through because you're right. I've had to say it a few times this week too where I've second guessed like, wait, am I right about that? But yes, you said it right. The Bears can lose and still get in if Arizona loses to the Los Angeles Rams. So there is that aspect, and honestly, it's kind of what I'm expecting to happen. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's the way I'm kind of leaning at this moment. And then, hey, last thing I want to say about Green Bay and just this matchup altogether, because I talked about Chicago, their defense. People have been running the football on them. Green Bay on offense, for me, has become a different team here the last few weeks with what they're doing on the run game, on the offensive side of the ball. They've become a true force, in my opinion. Before, I know they ran the ball well last year, and they had moments this year. But I still think it was all predicated, at least in my studies and opinion, on, hey, teams were Rodgers. Teams were worried about stopping Rodgers, and then he would get in a running play, and, they're playing pass defense, and they'd be good that way. But that I always felt like when teams played run, they couldn't just, impose their physical will in the run game. That's changed. It's made me think a little differently of Green Bay going to the playoffs. They're lining up times now, and just Rodgers knows the run game's working. The defense might be playing a run defense, and they just say, screw you, we're going to run it, and they get yards. That's where they're getting scary, and that's where they gash the Bears. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Bears have no chance of winning this game unless they go all in to stop the run. If they play it the first way, like they did the first time around, where they tried to play like, we're going to try to stop a little bit of everything, they're not going to stop anything, and it's going to be 40 points on the board. Right now with the way they're playing, I'd take my thing and go, I'm going to stop the run, and it's not an overly complicated pass game, and I'm going to trust some of my secondary and my coaching through the week to maybe slow down that aspect, but I'm more worried about Aaron Jones and Dillon and the way they looked right now.
And that's where it got started for the Packers in that first game against the Bears over the last 5 weeks. Third in the NFL in average yards rushing per game. We mentioned Cardinals-Rams. Cardinals 8-7 at the 9-6 Rams. John Wolford, get it right, coaches. Wolford is quarterback for the Rams, and it's presumably Kyler Murray, although he's got a leg injury. He may be not the same Kyler Murray that we're used to seeing. Desperation for the Cardinals. Winning, they're in. Losing, they're out. Rams still get in if the Bears lose to the Packers. Can the Rams pull this off with all these injuries that they have? Can they beat the Arizona Cardinals, Chris?
I do think so. I do. Yeah, I think the Rams really are a tough matchup for the Arizona Cardinals. Just, again, and I this week for my podcast, I went back and watched all these games, their first matchups, first time around. The Rams really, they were built in part, to stop Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks? Well, Kyler Murray kind of fits that mold to a degree too. And the Rams, they love playing spread football. Oh, you want to play spread football? They're all about that. They're not a big team. They're a speed team. The Rams are arguably the fastest defense in the game. So, them containing Kyler Murray and running him down, no problemo. They're not going to have any issues with that. Where I would worry about the Rams is in like phone booth football. Oh, power run game, stuff like that. That's where they've struggled this year. And that's where I look at the Cardinals and just think, if they think they're going to spread and Kyler Murray's going to scramble and run around and they're just going to throw balls to DeAndre Hopkins, no. They have Aaron Donald to stop Kyler Murray. They got Jalen Ramsey to slow down DeAndre Hopkins. I think even with Wolford at quarterback, not a lot's going to change for that offense, and I still think the Rams have the advantage in the matchup.
Amazing to think the Cardinals as good as they were, and I think it was 6-3 after the Hail Murray game, I believe.
Yeah.
And now they're looking at 8-8. Are you kidding me?
I know.
But amazing slide by the Cardinals, and those injuries that Kyler Murray has sustained, the shoulder and now the leg. I think the final nail in Arizona. And we'll see if they can regroup and get it done next year. Washington and Philadelphia, Sunday Night Football. Washington is in with a win. They would win the NFC East with a record of 7-9 and host a playoff game in the wild card round. Can Washington win this game, Chris, if Alex Smith is unable to go? Did not practice on Wednesday. Taylor Heineke would be the replacement. Dwayne Haskins long gone. Do you think they can win without Smith?
Yes, but it'll take some other factors. Heineke did look good when he came in the other day. Now, I know, the game was kind of over and all that type of stuff too, so it's different as far as the intensity he'll have to deal with at the start of the game and everything like that. So we'll see. But I think, yes, they can win, but then to me it's going to have to be, all right, Antonio Gibson in the run game were somewhat special, and maybe the defense, caused a turnover or two to give them a short field. I don't know if I trust the fact that I think Taylor Heineke is going to, execute and do all those things. I hope he can. I just don't know. I mean, we haven't seen him play enough football. I think that's the big question to me. But the other aspect that is concerning too, and just from what we heard with Alex Smith, right, Mike? I mean, I would think he's playing. If he was that close to playing last week, I would think he makes it this week. But the other aspect that Terry McLaurin, that's where I worry about maybe more than anything for Washington. Because if they don't have him, there's nothing to worry about really in the pass game that way. And then it just lets the Eagles really focus on Antonio Gibson and do all that. The Eagles got run on last week, but it wasn't until late in the game until they were desperate and they were trying to get the ball back. They were okay handling Zeke Elliott and company and all that. But ultimately, they broke because they were trying to make something happen, and they got to worry about all those receivers in Dallas. They don't have to worry about that in Washington. I think this is going to be a close, competitive football game.
You mentioned Terry McLaurin. He was in a walking boot over the weekend. He didn't practice Wednesday. Gibson also didn't practice. He's been dealing with injury issues.
Turf toe.
And the other dynamic here, Chris, is the Eagles have nothing to lose.
I know.
The Eagles are loose. The Eagles, this is that Texans on Thanksgiving, Bengals on Monday night a week and a half ago, where this is our chance. People are watching, kind of like a bowl game during bowl week where let's just show everyone what we can do. And this is Jalen Hurts' opportunity to really convince everyone that he's the guy. So I think this is a very, very dangerous spot for Washington, especially if they don't have Alex Smith.
Now, I was going to say, Mike, that's a great point, though. I think that has to be talked about because, like, Philadelphia is one of those teams, and I think that's what you're saying, where they're not – I don't look at them as a team that's going to go, oh, the season's over, we're going to give up. I feel like they're one of those teams that's like, let's try this week. Let's do this week. This is going to be fun. Let's screw them over. Let's run this trick play. I think they're going to relish the no pressure, like you're saying, to where that is dangerous.
Yeah, fake punts, fourth downs.
Right.
Gadget plays.
Exactly.
And look, the closing argument for the season is this primetime game. Eagles fans want major changes. Doug Peterson has to at least be wondering if it was so bad this year that he may not have a job next year. He at least has to wonder that. The best way to propel yourself into an offseason of uncertainty is to win national television, prime time, last game of the regular season, and keep Washington out of the playoffs. That is going to be your best footing for whatever comes next and maybe avoid what would happen if you end up losing 42-10 to Washington in that spot. Now, before that game, we will know who gets in if Washington loses, because the Cowboys and the Giants have an elimination game at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Dallas 6-9, Giants 5-10. Whoever wins the division if Washington loses. It's that simple. The Cowboys really have gotten better. We left them for dead.
Yeah.
And they have found a way to wake up, Chris. And I made the joke when the Rose Bowl got relocated to AT&T Stadium. Well, they're going to have a postseason game there after all. They may have two postseason games there because there may be 30,000 people plus at AT&T Stadium watching the Cowboys host the Buccaneers next weekend.
No, I mean, I know. And Dallas, to your point, they have gotten better. There's no doubt. I don't sit here and go, oh, they've gotten so better, though, that I think it's a guaranteed win against the New York Giants. Definitely not. I know they've won 3 in a row. They were down last week, 14-3 pretty early. They were fortunate in the 2 wins before that. Cincinnati gave them the ball and gave them, they just kept handing them the ball. And Dallas's defense scored a touchdown, and then they got a short field, and the 49ers did the same thing. They've had some games fall their way. I do think the Giants match up pretty good with the Dallas Cowboys. The issue with it's just can the Giants offense do enough? Can they run the ball? Dallas's run defense stinks. I mean, it's horrible. Can the Giants? That's why I was shocked. We talked about in the first hour, Daniel Jones talking about, I'm going to play in the pocket, and I don't know, you'll see the similar game plan, which means he can't run and get on the edge. But that to me is going to be, the big thing. Who wins that matchup? Do the Giants gash them in the run game, or does Dallas kind of hold their own? If that's the case, then I think Dallas can win the football game, definitely. But I do think that Giants defense can match up with Dallas's, offense too. Giants with those giant big guys up front, like we've talked about. It should be a lot like their Seattle game plan. 5 big guys up front. We're going to put all the pressure on our big guys to stop Ezekiel Elliott in the run game so we can play too deep and not let CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup go off, because the Giants can't match up with those receivers across the board. There's no way. So they got to protect them with safety play, in my opinion. Well, they got the biggest D-line in football. They're going to have to put the pressure on them to stop the run so they can protect that. I think they got a chance. I favor Dallas, but I think this will be a close game.
It was a very close game when they played earlier this year, 34-31. The Cowboys got the win at home over the New York Giants. I think it was
Dak Prescott broke his ankle that game.
It was one of the rare. Yeah, it was one of the rare wins. Right, Andy Dalton came in and found a way to get it done. And speaking of Dalton, and this is a point on a day when we are bashing Pete Demolitis every chance we can get. I have to give him credit here. He has alerted me to this quirk of historical football fact. Andy Dalton, 5 straight playoff berths with the Bengals in the AFC, never crossed paths with Tom Brady once. This year, it could be Dalton in his first year with an NFC team facing Brady in his first year with an NFC team in the wild card round. And that will happen if the Buccaneers win, which they fully intend to do, and they're going to go for it because they want to be the 5 seed because they'd rather play at Dallas than at Seattle or at Green Bay or at New Orleans. And if Dallas wins, if Tampa wins, and if Washington loses, that will be the matchup.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.